The night was a tempest unleashed, a maelstrom of wind and rain that seemed determined to obliterate the world. The wind, a howling dervish, tore through the skeletal branches of ancient trees, their groans echoing like mournful cries in the darkness. It rattled windows in their frames, sending shivers down the spines of those huddled within, and snatched at loose objects, flinging them through the air like discarded toys. Rain fell in relentless sheets, a torrential downpour that transformed streets into rushing rivers and turned the earth into a muddy quagmire. Each droplet was a tiny hammer blow, joining with millions of others to create a deafening symphony of percussion on every surface imaginable. Lightning, jagged and brilliant, cleaved the sky, illuminating the drenched landscape in stark, momentary flashes, only to plunge it back into an even deeper, more ominous darkness. In those fleeting moments of illumination, the storm revealed its raw, untamed power, a force of nature both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Most people, fortunate enough to have shelter, watched this chaotic ballet from the safety of their homes. Thick curtains were drawn against the raging elements, creating a sense of cozy refuge within. Families gathered in the warm glow of lamps, seeking comfort in each other's presence, their voices hushed as they listened to the storm's relentless roar. Parents whispered soothing reassurances to their children, their soft words a fragile shield against the booming thunder that shook the very foundations of their houses. For them, the storm was a temporary disruption, an inconvenience to be endured until the dawn brought respite. But not everyone had the luxury of a warm, dry haven. Out in the unforgiving expanse of the storm, a lone figure struggled against the elements. It was a stray dog, a creature of the streets, its thin frame barely visible amidst the driving rain and swirling shadows. Its fur, matted and soaked, clung to its body, revealing the sharp outline of its ribs, a stark reminder of its constant struggle for survival. The dog's movements were cautious, almost hesitant, each paw placed carefully as if the storm itself was just another obstacle in a life defined by hardship. Its eyes, usually bright and alert, were now clouded with weariness, reflecting the harshness of its existence. This dog, nameless and unclaimed, knew no home, no loving hand to offer comfort. It existed on the fringes of society, scavenging for scraps of food, and occasionally receiving a fleeting moment of kindness from a compassionate stranger. It had endured countless cold nights, scorching summer days, and numerous storms, but this night felt different. A strange unease settled within its heart, a primal instinct whispering of something more. Its ears, normally drooping, perked up despite the cacophony of the storm, its wet nose twitching, sifting through the wind and rain, searching for an unknown scent, an unseen presence. Then, through the storm's furious symphony, a sound pierced the chaos. It was faint, almost imperceptible, easily swallowed by the wind's howl and the rain's relentless drumming. Yet, the dog heard it. A cry. Not the familiar yowl of another dog or the screech of a bird, but something different, something more vulnerable. It was a human sound, small, weak, filled with fear and desperation. The dog froze, its body tensing, every muscle alert. It tilted its head, straining to pinpoint the source of the sound. The cry came again, slightly louder this time, carried on a gust of wind as if pleading to be heard. The dog's eyes, sharp and intelligent despite the rain blurring its vision, scanned the darkness, searching for any clue. The storm was a master of disguise, a swirling vortex of shadows and distorted shapes, but the sound acted as a beacon, drawing the dog forward into the unknown. Far from the dog, huddled beneath the skeletal branches of a storm-battered oak tree, a little girl trembled with fear. Her small body was soaked to the bone, her hair plastered to her face, which was pale and streaked with tears. She clutched her knees to her chest, her tiny hands shaking as she tried to ward off the biting cold that seeped into her bones. Her cries were now just whimpers, each one a struggle, her voice hoarse and weak. She had become separated from her family hours ago, lost in the confusion of the sudden storm. They had been enjoying a day out, a picnic in the park, a simple family outing that had turned into a nightmare. In the chaos of the sudden downpour and the panicked rush for shelter, she had become disoriented, wandering further and further from her loved ones. Too young to fully comprehend the danger she was in, she felt it deep within her, a chilling premonition of something terrible. The cold gnawed at her, making her shiver uncontrollably. Every thunderclap sent shivers down her spine, her small body trembling like a leaf in the wind. She was utterly alone, lost in the heart of the storm's fury, her small world reduced to the fear that gripped her heart. But as fate would have it, the paths of these two lost souls were about to converge. Driven by an instinct it couldn't explain, the stray dog pressed forward through the storm, drawn inexorably towards the faint sound of the girl's cries. It navigated the flooded streets and muddy paths, undeterred by the wind lashing at its face or the rain soaking its fur. It didn't understand the nature of the sound it followed, but a deep, primal urge compelled it onward, a spark of empathy in a heart that had known only hardship. And so, beneath the raging sky, the dog and the girl, two creatures on the margins of society, were drawn together by an invisible thread. The storm continued its relentless assault, its fury masking the unfolding drama, the quiet miracle that was about to take place. Unbeknownst to them, this night would not only change their lives forever, but would also serve as a powerful reminder of the extraordinary connections that can blossom between the most unexpected companions, a testament to the enduring power of compassion in the face of adversity. With every passing moment, the girl's fear deepened. The storm's fury was no longer her greatest threat. Something else was coming. She could feel it in the air, an unnatural weight, a heaviness that pressed against her chest, making it difficult to breathe. The wind howled louder, the rain falling harder as though the sky itself had become enraged. Something was shifting, something beyond nature, something far more dangerous. Suddenly, from the dark void of the storm, a figure emerged. At first, it was only a silhouette, a massive shape, towering and dark, with an unsettling presence that chilled her to the bone. The creature moved with unnatural grace, its form shrouded by the rain and darkness, its eyes glowing faintly in the shadows like the eyes of a predator. The girl's heart skipped a beat as she froze, her mind racing in panic. She had heard stories, of course, stories of monsters in the night, creatures that prowled when the world was dark and the storms raged. But she never believed them. She never thought they could be real, until now. The dog, still a few steps behind, seemed to sense the danger before the girl did. Its fur bristled, its body stiff with tension, and its low growl resonated in the air. The creature's eyes shifted toward the dog, its expression unreadable, and the dog immediately leaped forward, its body trembling with fear and defiance. It wasn't going to let this unknown predator hurt the girl. The girl gasped as she stumbled backward, but the creature's attention remained fixed on the dog. It was no longer a mere animal. It had become something more, a symbol of defiance, of hope, standing between her and the terror that approached. For a moment, the creature paused, as if weighing its options. It studied the dog intently, its amber eyes narrowing as if calculating its next move. "Stay behind me," the girl's father urged, his voice strained, his protective instincts kicking in. But he was too late. The creature suddenly lunged, faster than the eye could follow, its limbs stretching unnaturally as it closed the distance between them. The dog barked ferociously, its bark echoing in the night like a battle cry. But in the blink of an eye, it was thrown backward, its body hitting the muddy earth with a sickening thud. "No!" the girl screamed, her voice filled with helpless desperation. But there was nothing she could do. The dog lay motionless on the ground, its body crumpled and still. Her father grabbed her arm, pulling her forward with all his strength. "We have to run. We have to get out of here." But the girl's legs felt like lead, her heart screaming for the dog. She had just witnessed it try to protect them, give everything it had to keep them safe, and now it lay defeated so easily. Just then, the creature stepped back. Its amber eyes gleamed in the dim light, but it didn't move forward to finish what it had started. Instead, it stared at them, its presence so imposing that the very air felt thick with tension. It was then that the girl realized something unsettling. The creature wasn't just a force of evil, it was something else, something much more complicated. It had stopped, perhaps not because it couldn't finish its task, but because it had been given a choice. Her father was already pulling her away, but she couldn't tear her gaze away from the figure, from the dog's lifeless form. They had barely taken 2 steps when the creature's form began to fade into the mist, vanishing back into the night as suddenly as it had appeared. "Come on," her father urged, his voice filled with dread. "We can't stay here." The storm had subsided, leaving only an eerie calm in its wake. The girl couldn't stop shaking as they trudged through the drenched streets, her thoughts consumed by the creature that had spared them. What had it wanted? Why had it stopped? The dog, the one creature who had given its all for their safety, had been defeated so easily. The world seemed different now, as if reality itself had been altered by that brief encounter. And deep within her, she knew that this was just the beginning. There was something more, something far worse, waiting in the darkness. And it wasn't finished yet. The creature wasn't gone. Not really.